Welcome back, everyone. Middays with Gerard. We got Rhino in the studio. It's SuperTalk. Joining us now, Representative Trent Kelly. He represents Mississippi's 1st Congressional District. Good afternoon, Congressman. How are you today, sir?
Man, I am good. I think the grass is greener and the sky's bluer. The birds are singing. Republicans beat the Democrats in baseball last night. That's probably a good night.
We were just talking about that. Now, did you play or did you attend?
No, I was coaching, so I coached third base.
Okay.
And, So anyway, I was pretty aggressive. I kept sending guys. I got one thrown out, but I got 3 in. So I think it all comes down to one.
All right, so I got to ask you, there are reports this morning that the boo birds were out when the president showed up. What's your take on it? Was there a lot of booing, a lot of praising, a combination of the two? What was it like?
It was a combination. On one side they were cheering, and on the other side they were booing. And thankfully for me, when he went to the Republican side, I was coaching third base, so I was like, I'm not in the picture, and I sure didn't make any effort to go over there.
That's awesome. Well, my understanding is he was there mainly to work the members to get his agenda through here, man. It ain't going very well for him. I call it Hell Week this week.
It is not. It was not. And we were glad he showed up. Greg Stubbe went yard on him when he showed up.
I saw that.
He must have hit that thing 350 feet. It was 338 down the lines, and it wasn't down the line. It was level.
That's awesome.
It was so funny.
That's awesome.
So that kind of he motivated us, I guess, to get him out of there more than he motivated them.
Well, I've just been watching this morning. We've been reporting on it. Senator Joe Manchin, he's like the most popular guy in town right now. And so the speaker comes out this morning first and says, I think we're going to put this $1.2 trillion bill on the floor. She doesn't sound totally convinced. She's even got the votes for that. As you know, the progressive wing is saying, no, we're not doing that deal unless we get the full $3.5 trillion, which is really, I say it's 7. The Wall Street Journal. Yeah, okay. Well, it's more than 3.5. They're not being honest about that. So, and then right after that, the press absolutely surrounds Joe Manchin, and he does a live interview for 15, 20 minutes, and he says, I think I could be down for a $2.5 trillion deal. Or excuse me, a $1.5 trillion as opposed to a 3.5, but he is on board with a 1.2, which is the bipartisan, or it was passed on a bipartisan basis, the more traditional infrastructure bill. That's kind of what he says his position is today. But the moderates, or excuse me, the progressives in the House may torpedo the $1.2 trillion deal. I mean, am I sort of describing the scenario right, Congressman?
You are describing exactly right, and I'm not for the 1.2 trillion. It does a lot of good stuff, and there's some good money in there. But only about half of that goes to infrastructure. If we're going to spend 1.2 million on infrastructure, it needs to go to infrastructure, which is roads, bridges, rail, dredging, those kind of things of our waterways. And quite frankly, only about half of this goes. And then that other one, I don't think either one of them is going to be able to pass the House. I hope none of my Republican colleagues will help them pass the 1.2 trillion to pacify those progressives.
Yeah, and that I agree with you. It looks to me like that the whole deal may just crater. I mean, that the 1.2 may not make it because the progressives tank it in the House, and the 3.5 doesn't look like Manchin's going to get on board with that. And there's still some questions as to whether or not that could pass the House. There's some Democrats that are kind of breaking ranks on that as well.
And they've got the debt ceiling to deal with. They're making up stuff on that. They're saying, listen, we had to bite the bullet and pass that, and it paid for all of Trump stuff, and it paid for the first 8 months of Biden stuff. This is not, they're trying to say, well, we're paying for what Trump did. That's just a lie, and they know it. They are paying for this. They don't want to own up that they're paying for this almost $5 trillion in money they're trying to see.
Unbelievable, and that seems to be the case. And as we were talking about on the show earlier, Senator McConnell over in the Senate, Nancy tried to push just a raise the debt ceiling bill only over there, and he says, nah, we're not going to help you out with that, which would require 60 votes. You're going to have to dump that in the recon bill, which unfortunately can pass with just a simple majority. And then you got the parliamentarian. She's giving them some grief about some of that stuff they're trying to jam in there, too.
They are, and these are the same folks who, I call them liberals and socialists rather than Democrats and progressives. But these are the same folks who voted against the NDAA because it was given $24 billion, keeping us at the level that they say we have to be able to defend this nation. And these are the same folks that did that, Gerard. And so they're just against everything unless it has to do with spending money on climate boards. And that's not really doing anything for the environment. It's just spending money to create jobs for their friends.
Yeah, I totally agree. So what do you think about the president and Pelosi? And now it seems like it's the talking point of the entire Democrat Party. Oh, this thing costs zero. It's paid for. It's not really an expenditure. How did we get to this point?
I mean, that's like my kids going to college, and I'm writing a check for it, and them going, well, man, I'm going to college for free. No, you're not. I'm paying for it. And the American people are paying for this. We're not sending them for free. It's amazing. They don't have the ability to tell the truth on some of this stuff and just own it. You want to spend $5 trillion that is not paid for. Is going to increase the debt and the deficit, and so own it.
Yeah. The bigger concern I have beyond the money is just how this allows government to invade more of the private sector, more of our lives. This $600 reporting requirement, as you know, is got everybody really concerned, where you're just turning over to the government all of your financial activity. It's that bothers me more than just the dollar amount of it.
Oh, and it's more than just that. I mean, that's one of them. I just got off a virtual thing with our Mississippi bankers. 30 minutes ago. That's what we're talking about. They want to spy on everything. They want to tax. They want to take everything from anybody who's working and give it to those who are not. I mean, they don't have any problem giving free college education to an illegal immigrant who is coming across now, but they want to take everything to anybody who works hard.
It's just unbelievable. It's so upside down. Also, want to pivot a minute to this Afghanistan situation. I caught some of the hearings on the Hill. I know you participate in that. I got to tell you, Congressman, I have serious concerns about General Milley. Just being the head of the Joint Chiefs, I know he's a very bright man. I know he's a dedicated soldier. But, man, just the more that you take a look at where his focus is, more on all this social justice stuff instead of keeping the nation safe, it's concerns.
It concerns me too, and I had some pretty hard questions for him and some hard answers. But I don't want people to go so hard on the DOD. Remember, the decision makers and the people who are most accountable for this is Joe Biden, the commander-in-chief, and Antony Blinken, who made all the calls. They decided the troop level numbers, and we don't need to let them off the hook by giving them a scapegoat. Now, I'm going to get to the answers on Milley and McKenzie and Secretary Austin, all those folks. But we don't need to take the focus off Joe Biden and Antony Blinken, who called this an extraordinary success. They own this, the bus stops with them, and they made all these decisions that cost lives and left thousands of Americans in Afghanistan.
Yeah, I agree. And yesterday, or the last couple of days, hearing them say, we told the president you need to keep at least 2,500 in the country. And then you got the White House press secretary, Jen Psaki, a little bit after that saying, well, that's not exactly what? Come on, can't we just get the truth here? And you got them contradicting with the president. We can't run the railroad that way.
We cannot, and we've gotten some of those answers. Several came out. This was all, once it turns into an evacuation, that belongs to State Department. They limited the number of troops to 650. Yep. That was less than what the generals requested and what they told them. They also told them they had to protect the embassy, themselves. Although they didn't stay in the embassy. They got out quick and were some of the first ones out. We didn't have enough people on the ground processing the actual Americans who needed to get out.
Of course. Congressman, always a pleasure talking to you, sir, and thank you for fighting for the people of Mississippi in this regard. We really appreciate that, and fingers are crossed this stuff's not going to pass.
Me too, and we're doing all we can to stop it.
Middays with Gerard and Rhino. We'll be right back.